Eventually I'm going to have a design portfolio, but right now.
Welcome to the Order of Furman Theatre and Furman University Theater's production of the New Works Festival, sponsored in part by the Furman Humanities Center. At this time, we ask that you please silence all cell phones. Please refrain from the use of photography and audio or visual recording at any time during the production. In the event of an emergency, please remain calm and listen for instructions from our house staff. In order to ensure performer and patron safety, audience members are asked to wear masks or face coverings at all times during the performance, intermission, and talkback. Please take a moment of reflection to acknowledge the ancestral land of the Cherokee people on which Furman University sits. It is with gratitude that we honor the land and the people who have stewarded it through many generations, and we challenge you to learn from their wisdom. Thank you for joining us. And now, the student, faculty, alumni, and guest artist New Works Festival.
Sting just like pearls, blessing in the round. Never change for anybody else in the brown skin girl. Skin just like pearls, blessing in the round. I never change it for anybody else singing.
She says she really grow a boy like me. Don't believe in nothing by the Almighty. Just a little gym and a pure whitey. She never dreamed to ever be nobody wifey. Yeah. She wanna make a pretty but your heart is a me. Playing like a villain cause she caught in a way. Tonight I am walking away. Night of my mind and I grind. Tonight I might fall in love. Depending on how you hold me. I'm glad that I'm calming down. Now that no one can control me. Keep dancing and call it love. She fights it by falling slowly. If ever you are in doubt, remember what mama told me. Brown skin girl, that skin just like hers. Your back against the world. I never tried you for anybody else. The brown skin girl, that skin just like hers. The best thing in the world. I never tried you for anybody else.
Pose like a trophy when Naomi's walking. She didn't ask her for the pretty dark skin. Pretty like with Peter when the camera's closing. Drip on the levy when my Kelly's rolling. I think tonight she might break her break. Melanin too dark to throw her shade. She minds her business and winds her ways. Roll like 24K. Okay.
Tonight I might fall in love. Depending on how you hold me. I'm glad that I'm calming down. Can't let no one can control me. Keep dancing and call it love. She fights it by falling slowly. If ever you are in doubt, remember what mama told me. Brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. Your back against the world. I never tried you for anybody else. The brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. The best thing in the world. I never tried you for anybody else.
Have you looked in the mirror lately? Wish you could trade eyes with me. Cause there's complexities in complexion, but your skin is glow like diamonds. Singing like the earth you be giving back to everything alive, baby, know your work. I love everything about you from your nappy curls to every single part of your body natural. Same skin that was broken, me. Same skin taking over. Things out of focus, you, but when you're in the room, they know it's you. 'Cause you're beautiful. Yeah, you're beautiful. And when them gon' fall in love with you and all of your glory. Your skin is not only dark, it shines and it tells your story. Keep dancing, they can't control you. They watch and they all adore you. If ever you are in doubt, remember what mama told you.
Brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. Your back against the wall. I never tried you for anybody else. Brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. The best thing in the world. I never tried you for anybody else.
Skin girl, your skin just like pearls. Best thing in the world. I never tried you for anybody else.
In this temporary world, I'm tired of my tongue. Empty conversations with the enemy's eyes. Which way you go, but onward, soldier, no relief inside. So like a storm, I'm moving forward like an eagle in flight. Save me from myself. Release me from my own hell. Save me from myself. Onward, keep on soldier. Onward, keep on soldier. Keep moving. 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 Onward, keep on soldier. Keep why don't you say? Onward, keep on soldier. Keep moving. Onward, keep on soldier. Keep why don't you say? Onward, keep on soldier. Onward, keep on soldier. Keep why don't you say?
Wayt's Peach Blossoms. Act 1, Scene 1. Roses of all colors, some open and some not open, line the edges of the stage.
Nobody knows how the roses came or how the Burgesses came to be their keepers. All the townspeople knew was that when you were born, a stem appeared in the garden, and when you died, so did it. The job of the Burgess family was to monitor the roses. They took extensive notes on where and when stalks emerged. They marked each rose by the name of the newborn baby in their record, but only the Burgesses were allowed to know where or whose rose was where. The roses grew much slower than normal roses and wouldn't bloom for a great many years, completely ignoring the normal growing seasons. They wouldn't wilt or falter in the harsh winter months, and they wouldn't bloom in the spring. Until, that is, you met the person you were going to fall in love with. Then, at that precise moment, your and your lover's blossoms would both open. To make it easier to determine exact pairings, children were all isolated from one another as to avoid large groups encountering potential partners at one time. Instead, they were all formally introduced at a Rose Day ceremony the last day of spring after they turned 16.
Today, are we ready? Oh, June, dear, are you seriously reading at a time like this? It's my favorite book. Right, the Prince. No, the Stolen Prince. He's caring and funny, and he always jumps in right at the last second to save the princess. And at the end of the book, he opens an orphanage for all the children of the realm. I can just picture him. Your rose ceremony is a day for creating stories, not for reading someone else's. I can't believe that I have a daughter old enough to be blossoming at the rose ceremony. Your father and I blossom early, you know. I know, Mom. You tell me that every year on Rose Ceremony Day. You say, June, don't you know that I never made it to my rose ceremony because your father had the nerve to meet me 1 month before ours. But now it's you. Can you believe it? Today your rose will blossom and then we'll know who my little girl is destined to fall in love with. I hope he's handsome. I'm sure he'll be very handsome. To me, at least. Even if other people disagree, I'll love him no matter what. That's a very good mentality, dear. I've seen many little girls, you're that age. I shouldn't say that, should I? I've seen plenty of young women who sobbed their eyes out in the back corners of the garden because their rose blossomed when they met someone they thought was unattractive. And now they're happy as can be with a loving husband and a baby on their head. I'm not worried about that. Well, that's good, dear. But it's also completely normal to be a little nervous on the day.
I've been dreaming about this ever since I was little. Every year I watch girls come in their white dresses and they leave hand in hand with the man they're going to marry. I mean, I watch people fall in love every single year, and now it's finally my turn. Today's the day I finally get to meet him. My stolen prince. It'll be better than any storybook I've ever read.
Well, Cinderella, shouldn't you be off getting ready? The other girls will be arriving soon.
I still have to finish up my last minute checks. I don't get the day off just because it's the day of my rose ceremony.
How many early blossom pairings were there this year?
Only 2 couplings, plot 136 and 224, and plot 84 with plot 116. Seems like parents have been much better this year about keeping their children away from each other.
That's a shock. I would have thought at least 4 or 5 more pairs would have done something radical to meet their matches, especially knowing some of their mothers. Oh, here, darling, I have your ribbon.
Marion pulls a pink ribbon out of her pocket and ties it around her daughter's wrist.
Now you'll be able to identify other children, young men and women who are coming here for the rose ceremony. You've still got a little bit of time before anyone arrives, but there it is. Speaking of, I just remembered that your father wanted to give you something before everyone arrived. He's in his office.
I'll have to stop by there anyway to drop off my note sheet, so I'll head that way now then. I love you, Mom.
I love you too, sweet girl.
End of scene. Scene 2, Harlan's office. On the wall is a large corkboard with a map attached to it. Each plot has a pin in it, either green, yellow, or black. Some of the green pins are also pinning down a little pink ribbon. June is now wearing a white dress.
Dad, I have my note sheet this morning.
There she is, my beautiful daughter. You can set that down, I won't get to it for a bit. Gosh, Peach, you look so grown up. How did that happen?
I guess putting a brick on my head didn't keep me from growing after all.
I guess not. Is that...
Mom's dress. She figures someone ought to wear it to a rose ceremony. You know.
Yes, my fault. Did she ever tell you how we met? See, my mother, your grandmother, which I wish she would have been able to meet, she loved birds. She would watch them every morning, drinking tea and listening to their twittering high in the trees. Bird feeders littered the patio. We were low on birdseed on my mom's birthday, which happens to be in the middle of migration season. She asked about making a run to the store to get more seed, and my dad suggested I go. When he went to give me the money to pay for it, he gave me way more than I would have needed for birdseed. He said, pick up a little cake or something, would you, kid? He winked at me. And some flowers. Peonies. And why peonies?
And roses are sacred.
Right. So, I went down to town on my bike, and as I went into the general store, I saw this beautiful girl standing behind the counter. She was reading something, her hair gently falling down her shoulder and brushing the counter she was leaning on. I walked in, and she looked up at me, straightened up her dress, and said, how can I help you? She could have told me to go to hell, and I would have thanked her for it. She still could. I was so flustered, I tried to ask for peonies, but ended up leaving with lilies instead, and a little carrot cake, and a pack of shortbread cookies. She could have sold me anything. I came home without a penny in my pocket and a smile on my face, and I knew. My mind had checked my rose, and no surprise there, it had blossomed. So we went on our first date the next day, and the rest is history.
Why hasn't anybody told me that story before?
Well, I suppose your mother probably has a bit of a different version of that day in her head. Besides, I think she does resent me a little bit for making it so she couldn't go to her rose ceremony or the official courtship dates with all her friends at the same time.
Mom said you had something for me.
Ah, yes. Here, now, be careful with that. It's a family piece.
A rose necklace?
It was my mother's. No better time for it, huh?
Can I put it on?
Of course! You know, it was on the day of my rose ceremony, the one that I missed, that my parents decided to let me really start learning about the roses. I've had you doing simple things so far, like checking each plot for blossoms, but now that you're old enough for your rose to blossom yourself, I suppose you can be included in the more confidential side of the family business. Would you like that?
I would love that, Dad.
That's my peach. Then we can really get started with your garden education. But remember, everything that you're learning here is a secret of the Burgess family, specifically your mother and me. And now you. Nobody else is allowed to know about the location of specific roses and their condition, because We don't know what would happen if someone wanted to damage or sabotage the rose of their enemy. Now, what is this?
It's a map of the plots.
Which are organized by?
The family through the mother's lineage.
And when do you get assigned your rose plot number?
The day you're born, when the stalk emerges next to your mother's in the garden.
That's right. And these pins, what are they here for? What do they do?
They indicate status on the individual roses.
There you go. But do you know what they mean? Well, a green pin indicates that the rose, and thus the individual, is healthy. Yellow indicates illness, and black
He pauses as he replaces one yellow pin with a black.
indicates that the flower is dying.
And so the person is dying.
Yes, unfortunately.
The person whose pin you just replaced is in plus 74. Do you know how much time it is left?
About a month. I checked on hers this morning. You'll learn all the names soon, but plot 74 is Sage Thompson. She's been sick for some time, but I was really hoping that she'd pull through. Her poor boys.
How do you know it'll be a month?
Oh, when you've been looking after the roses as long as I have, you tend to pick up on these sorts of nuances. You'll recognize them one day. You'll have to take care of them yourself after I'm gone, you know.
That sounds so complicated, like a lot of difficult work.
It's an easy job, really, Peach. I'm a gardener of people. I'll teach you.
Do you need to tell people that their loved ones are dying?
Well, no. We tend here to focus on more of the happier parts of tending to them. The blossoming. Speaking of, do you know what the little pink and blue ribbons indicate? Unblossomed roses. That's why we have you wear them on your wrists on your rose ceremony day.
He points to one green pin that has a ribbon.
Yours is right here. Plot 6.
The phone rings.
That's probably the doctor. He wanted me to update him on Miss Thompson's condition, but enjoy this day, Peach. Summer will be here before you know it. Courting season!
June looks closely at her pin. She takes it and the ribbon off the pin board. Tom enters, wearing a blue ribbon on his wrist. They both intentionally avoid eye contact.
Oh, sorry, I was looking for Mr. Burgess.
He just left to take a phone call. I'm sorry, but you're not allowed in here. This is a private office.
I'm so sorry. I'm here for the,
The rose ceremony? I know.
yes, and, well, I was hoping I could talk to Mr. Burgess before the ceremony.
What's your name?
Tom Densmore.
Well, Tom, I'll let him know that you're here, but you can please leave.
Of course. I'll just be... Are you worried about today?
I'm more excited than nervous, but it's normal to be a little nervous.
I didn't say Do you know how the roses work?
Well, my family's been tending to them for generations, so...
Do we choose the people we love? Do we choose or do they choose?
What do you mean?
I mean, do we really fall in love at first sight? At first glance, do we already know we're going to love them and the roses respond? Or do the roses independently decide to matchmake two people and we all just assume that means they're destined to be together? Is it just chance?
I don't know what you're asking.
I'm asking, have they ever been wrong?
Never.
Peach?
Oh, I was just... I bumped the board on accident and fell, so... There's a boy in the hall and who wants to talk to you, and his name's Tom, and he may have run off, but I have to go.
End of scene. Scene 3.
Sweetheart, look! Guests are arriving. Do you want to go say hi?
I don't know if I can.
Nonsense. I'm in charge of all young ladies on this estate, and I will make sure that no daughter of mine is going to be antisocial on the day of her rose ceremony. Come here. This is my daughter, June. June, this is Anna. The forest, was it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, then. Have fun.
That's your mom?
Sorry about her.
No, she seemed really nice. She gave me cookies. What are they? Shortbread? Kind of lavendery?
My Nana's recipe.
They're really good. So, are you nervous? Find out who your match is going to be?
Maybe a little.
What does your dream boyfriend look like when you imagine him?
Well, what's the point of imagining? You're about to find out exactly what he looks like.
Yeah, but you gotta have a dream, right? When you read fairy tales, what do you imagine Prince Charming is like? I always see him as tall, lean, dark brown hair, dreamy eyes. Maybe some muscle definition?
I mean, I guess I see him as kind, having a really nice smile, one that crinkles up his eyes when he's laughing. And he's taller than me, but just enough so that my head fits in his shoulder comfortably. And he makes me laugh, and he would do selfless things like open an orphanage in honor of his adopted father.
Okay, but what's he look like? Like, what kind of hair does he have?
Long hair, kind of wavy, like a sailor. I mean, I guess so.
A prince with long hair? That's too many rules.
But he's not just a prince, he's a person too, and some people have hair like that.
No, I thought it sounded nice, June. It's just funny, not what I expected.
I don't think it's fair of us to be talking like this when we know the guys we're going to marry are on the other side of the garden right now.
Certainly no sailors on leave. I'm joking. I just hope mine's not ugly.
How can you be joking around at a time like this?
Gotta keep it light, right? To keep from being overwhelmed with what's to come.
You're feeling overwhelmed about the ceremony?
What? No. I'm worried about what comes after. Courtship date. You know, you and your new boyfriend get some quiet corner of the rose garden all to yourselves. To get to know each other better. Come on, do I have to spell it all out for you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Kissing, touching. I have twin older brothers, and in the year before their ceremony, that's all they used to talk about. How excited they were to have girlfriends so they could touch her.
Sure, where?
Seriously? You don't know, like, places you only see when you bathe?
People do that?
Apparently. And they want you to touch them too. That's what I'm worried about. Like, what if I do it wrong? What if he's really gross looking and I don't want to touch him?
Really gross looking? Like, he wouldn't be like really gross looking, right?
Could be. Have you ever seen a guy walk out of here without a match married? Somebody's got to marry the ugly guys. And the boring guys. As far as you know, on the other side of the garden, there's a 16-year-old hunchback, one eye, who only speaks in grunts, waiting to drool all over an economics textbook with you. And you have to touch him. Every day for the rest of your life.
Really? Do we have to do that?
Sure seems like it. According to my brothers, everybody does it. And they do it all the time.
Everybody does it? All the time?
That's what marriage is like, apparently.
That's super weird. Because I thought that marriage was just like loving someone, but more than that. I thought marriage was about like having a good friend, someone who could, who'd be there for you when life gets hard, someone who would help you out if you like needed to like rob a bank or bury a body. But if it's like what you said it is and not like what I said it is, then I don't know if I want to do that anymore. And so no, I can't do that. I don't want to have that. Oh God. Okay, I'm sorry. I have to go.
End of scene. Scene 4. Will enters the stage and looks around until he finds a group of rosebuds together.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 buds plus 2 blossoms. 1 for Mom and 1 for Danny. So much for a big secret. There's only one family in this town with 7 kids under 16. Wow, you're a big one. Does that mean, are you mine? You'll look like Danny soon, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready for that. In fact, I know I'm not ready to grow up. My dad used to say, that when a boy grows up, there's 3 things he needs to figure out when he becomes a man. What he's going to do, where he's going to live, and who he's going to marry. I'm going to work at the factory, like my dad, and Danny, and every other man in the family. I'm going to live in the same house as my siblings until they're all old enough to take care of themselves, which, well, won't be for a long time. See, once you open up, decide that one last thing, I'll officially be an adult. Which means I can't make any stupid kid mistakes anymore. And I really haven't had the time to make any yet, so don't feel like you have to rush, okay? Take your time.
Please tell me you're trying to find a secret escape route out of this garden.
I might be, I mean, could be if that's what you're doing.
Yeah. Hi. I'm home.
I'm Will. Wow, your shirt is bright white.
Is it? Matilda doesn't use the brightener. So, Will, why are you running away today?
You must not be having much fun at the party either.
No party can compare to fumbling around an enchanted rose garden, could it? It's just nerve-wracking being around so many people. The cookies were pretty good, though. Lavender shortbread.
Sounds like a dream.
They were. Oh, here, I stuffed my pockets full of them, just in case I decide to make a run for it.
Thanks. What's with the getting great escape?
Oh, just trying to shirk responsibility, disappoint my parents, standard stuff.
They'd be disappointed if you didn't go to a rose ceremony?
They expect me to get married and take more responsibility in the family business, like, as soon as possible. I'm glad the laws say we can't get married until at least 2 years of courting, otherwise I'm convinced they'd have me walking down the aisle next week.
They'd do that to you?
Well, the way they see it, if the roses are right and you're going to be in love with the person forever, then why postpone the inevitable?
Maybe because you're not ready for it.
I don't know. I'm kind of glad about having the ceremony, though. If it weren't for the roses, my parents would probably have set me up with somebody like June Burgess, just because her family has similar status to mine. At least now I have a chance of being with someone that I want to be with, instead of just being set up for the sake of money or legacy.
Well, you still might end up with June Burgess.
Only if that's what the flowers tell me.
Won't you know? Isn't that the whole point, that you'll feel something for the person? Butterflies in the stomach, heart racing, something?
Those are all the same symptoms of worry. Like worry that you're making the wrong choice. Terrified that it might not work out. That doesn't mean love. Do you believe it? All the stuff about the roses.
Why wouldn't I?
I don't know. But they're supposed to find your true love, right? I mean, what's that supposed to even look like? Nobody tells you.
People in love are happy. Very happy. I've seen it. My older brother had his rose ceremony last year.
But you can't be that happy forever, can you? If you had Christmas every day, it'd be exciting for a little while, sure. But eventually you'd get bored with it. Maybe even start to resent the fact that the presents keep showing up when you've made every effort to keep the fat man from coming down the chimney.
Isn't the goal happily ever after?
Maybe. But for my parents, happily ever after didn't mean happy. They're more business partners than parents. They don't get me wrong, they're good at what they do, but they're good together. And they've been in love a long time.
What do they do?
They yell at each other a lot, mostly at night over the bills when they think my sister and I can't hear.
I meant, what do they do for work?
Oh! That's embarrassing. Molasses. They run a molasses refinery. Only one in the region, actually.
Your parents run Gold Star Molasses?
Yeah, but they're no fun at parties, so I'm trying not to become them. Trying. What do your parents do?
My dad used to work in the textile factory, but he died recently, in fact.
Well, so sorry.
No, it's okay. Apparently factory accidents happen all the time. Mr. Campbell, who owns the factory, offered the three oldest boys in my family jobs as a way of saying sorry. But my mom is, she's sick. And she can't take care of my younger siblings anymore. So we agreed that, that Danny, the oldest, would work there right now, and that my next youngest brother and I would stay at home until after our rose ceremonies.
So you're going to work at the same factory that killed your dad? Will, can't Dad?
I don't really have a choice. There's 8 kids at home right now, and not a lot of food. When Danny gets married, he's going to have to provide for his wife too. So I should have been working already.
But we're not allowed to start working full-time until after the rose ceremony.
Lucky for me, Mr. Campbell thinks his courtship summer was the best 12 weeks of his life. So he has a policy that no one can start until after that. So while it may be hard to make ends meet until then, well, I'm going to work 6 days a week starting in this fall.
6 days a week.
It's gonna suck.
Kidding. You know, at Gold Star, we only work 5 days a week, and we're over 2 years without any accidents. If you wanted, I could ask my dad if we have any job openings. We're almost always hiring. It wouldn't be too hard to set you up.
You would do that?
I know we only just met, but you seem really nice, Will. I mean, hell, I've had a sister for 14 years, and she and I have never had a conversation as deep as this. I want to help you care for your family. It sucks that you have to.
You don't know how much I would appreciate that. So, do you want to go rejoin the party? The ceremony must be starting soon.
I'm liking hanging out with you. Let them wait. It's not like they can start without us, right?
Right.
End of scene. Scene 5.
What's come over you, June? Are you nervous?
To meet every boy my age in town for the first time in my life, and then have to take that stranger, and he and I are going to... Yes, I'm nervous, and I don't know if I'm ready for it, if I want to do it, and I don't even know how to talk to them. And you know what? It's just hitting me how young everyone in fairy tales is. Like, Snow White was, what, 14, and Rapunzel couldn't have been much older than that when she met her prince, and they were ready then, and they got their princes, and they went to a quiet corner of the garden, and I don't know if I want to go through with it. Oh, could I wait a year? Could I just wait this season out?
Honey, you know that's not how it works.
Why did it have to be like this?
What do you mean?
The ceremony, like, white dress is the big fuss.
Sweetheart, it's tradition. Before having traditional ceremonies, it was nearly impossible to tell who was matched up with who. You know, they used to have schools where every child would meet in the same room every day. When they were small, it was chaos. After the rose ceremonies were established, it became much easier to understand what the roses were trying to tell us.
And what are they trying to tell us?
It's a sign, a signal of your feelings.
Well, what's the point of them giving us a sign if we somehow know who we're going to love just by looking at them at first sight?
Well, that may be the case most of the time, but it's not like that for everyone. The traditional blossoming process is good, but it's not perfect because relationships are made up of people, and people aren't perfect. You know, I didn't think of your father in the same way that he thought of me at the beginning, but I did fall in love with him. We went through all the right channels and still met all the right people we needed to.
There's so many people, so many people. Like, what if a disaster happens and everyone here witnesses me realize that the person who is going to be in love with me is some hideous, boring psychopath?
What happened to love him no matter what?
Well, that was before I thought of the very real possibility that I'm going to be married to Frankenstein's monster. Like, then I'm going to have to... And how can I stand being around him long enough to learn to love him then, especially if he wants me to?
It's very normal to be overwhelmed, dear.
The roses couldn't do that to me. It would be wrong.
The roses are never wrong. It might feel that way at the beginning, but we have our traditions for a reason. One way or another, you'll find your perfect match, and I can confirm from meeting several of the boys personally that none of them look like they've been built by spare parts. Today, you'll meet him. And then one day, a couple of years down the road, you'll get married and have a family of your own. That's what you want, right? Eyes on the prize, dear. It's stressful, and some girls do find it humiliating to be put on such a pedestal. It's not a perfect process, dear. But at the end of the day, you'll begin your journey to love.
It's a big step. It's a lot to take in.
It's never going to feel like the right time. We can only focus on right now, okay? We can't control what's going to happen.
Because the roses choose for us.
We don't question how the roses work, dear. Just take a deep breath, and you'll get in line with the ceremony.
I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what to do.
You know what happens, darling. You go in there, say hello, and introduce yourself to each young man one by one. I know you're going to be nervous and want to look away, but make sure you look him in the eye, allow him to kiss your hand, and when you come out, we'll know who it is. Simple as that, darling. Right? You've witnessed this every year since you could walk. You're just the one walking this time.
It's about time to get started, Burgesses. Cousins, aunts, uncles, can you please take your place next to your assigned rose plots? Thank you. Everyone have a watch to mark the time? Good, good. As always, we start in alphabetical order, which means that the first young lady who will go will be my daughter, June Burgess. Knock 'em dead, Peach.
Did she have to go first?
You always want alphabetical order.
She's terrified, Harlan. This is the biggest life event she's ever had to endure, and she can't even see anybody else go first.
What difference would it make? Her rose is going to open for who it'll open for, no matter what. It'll be good for her to get it over with.
I guess it wouldn't cause any difference in the results. But are you sure we couldn't?
Don't feel guilty just because you couldn't console her, Marion. That's just how teenage girls are with their mothers.
Has it begun over yet?
Not yet.
Well, she's almost halfway through the introductions.
I'll let you know when it happens.
Has it happened yet?
Not quite yet, Marion.
It could. She's almost.
It could be the very last boy.
Well, it had better be. She's at the last boy.
She's on the last one?
Yes, she's leaving now. Has it?
No, it hasn't. It should have opened by now.
Harlan, what do we do? I haven't seen anything like this happen before.
Harlan!
Coming! I have to get that, but don't say anything to June, all right? We need to figure this out before we worry her.
Mom, how was it?
I was so nervous, but I did everything I was supposed to do.
I'm sure you did everything right, dear. I'm sure you did.
So you have the results yet?
Oh, you know they can't announce anything like that until after everyone's gone.
Right? You know what? I feel so much better now. I don't know what I was worried about.
That's good, dear. Say, why don't you go talk to the other girls? I'm sure your new friends could use someone to talk to while waiting for their results.
Okay, it looks like we may have a match for Peach. You've got a blossoming rose without a partner identified on the east side.
You think that's June's match?
Time's a little off with when June went through the ceremony, but one of the cousins was watching it. And my uncle just dragged him to me. He's drunk as a skunk, but the time's close enough. It'll have to do. Has it opened yet?
It hasn't. What are we going to tell her?
I know something like this happened once before, but the rose was just late. But it didn't take long. It was when I was 6 or 7.
So it has to have happened before then, right? Or something similar.
I don't know.
It has to have. I bet it's in the history somewhere. Somebody has to have evidence of late or unblossomed roses. Letters, notes, something. If you give me the key to the file cabinets, I'll look through everything.
I should go. I'll go.
Harlan, how would it look if the head of the Burgess family disappeared in the middle of the most important day of the year? Nobody will miss me. I'll go.
He pulls a key out of his pocket.
Okay, but you know, if anybody gets access to the family secrets...
Chaos, destruction, etc. I know.
Wait, before you go, we should probably tell Peach. The match pairings are going to be announced soon.
You're right. She deserves to know what's going on.
Do you want me to get her?
No, she'll know something's wrong if you pull her over. If it's me, she'll just think that her mother is meddling her social life again. I can live with that. June, honey, can you come here for a second?
What is it, Mom? Is something wrong?
Before the official pairings are announced, your father and I need to talk to you about something.
This may sound a little worrying, but just stay calm. All right, Peach? Your rose hasn't blossomed.
What?
I know this is shocking, but Peach,
What do you mean it hasn't blossomed? It was supposed to open. When I had... Oh my God, it didn't open.
Look at me. It just hasn't opened yet, sweetheart. It could just be a little late.
Have roses ever been late before?
yes,
But...
it hasn't happened since I was a little boy. Certainly not since I started taking care of the roses personally. Luckily, we think we figured out who it'll be based on which boy's rose blossomed at that time. We just wanted to let you know.
You think? You're not sure?
There's no way to know for sure unless your rose confirms the match. But we timed the openings for a reason, so this must have happened a few more times in my mother's era, or before that even.
Well, how long was the delay before the rose opened when you were a little boy?
Oh, that doesn't matter,
A
June.
minute and a half.
Oh my God.
She deserves to know. It's been far longer than that now. In all honesty, Peach, I've never seen anything like this before. That's why I'm being so honest with you right now. Since this hasn't happened before, we don't know exactly how it's going to play out. Since it's your match, you need to be a part of this process that we're having to go through as a family. And I know this is a lot to take in, but we wouldn't have told you if we thought you couldn't handle it.
Can't handle it. I'm just a kid. You've got to try and stay relaxed, dearest. Just take a deep breath.
That's right. Now, we need you to keep this quiet until we've got it all sorted out. We wouldn't want doubt to be cast on the family's ability to interpret the rose's patterns.
You said you were being honest with me, and now I have to lie to others?
It's part of the job. All of the information on the roses is confidential, remember? Part of setting the precedent is thinking through how we're going to deal with these new things before we decide if and when to inform the public. And we just haven't had that time yet. Now, I know it's unfair of us to ask this.
Unfair? It's not unfair, it's mean. I have to walk around pretending like my rose has blossomed and I'm in love when I'm not. And act like my world hasn't just been turned upside down. That's cruel.
I'm sorry, Peach. But it'll only be for a little while we figure things out, okay? You have to do it for the family.
If a rose has been late before, it could be again. We just need a little time, sweetheart, all right?
For the family? What do you expect me to do?
Just go on your courtship date with the boy we tell you to, and I'm sure that your rose will open, and everything will be all right. Right, Harlan?
Right. It'll sort itself out. Now, we're going to announce the pairings. Look excited, right, Peach? Or at least normal, not upset. Can you do that for me?
Can I have a second?
Are you feeling a little better now? If I go announce the match pairings, will you be all right? That's my girl. We'll get through this, okay? I promise.
Deep breaths, June. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Slow.
End of scene. We'll be taking a 10-minute intermission. Seat 6.
All right, folks, if I could have your attention, please. I know it's exciting. We've had another beautiful rose ceremony, and after comparing blossom times and determining names, I'm proud to announce this year's match pairings. In no particular order, we have Anna Forrest with Tom Densmore, Margaret Redwood with Eli Jacobs, Ava Whittle with Joseph Manning, Helen Richards with Mark Watterson, and Jude Burgess with Will Thompson. Now that you've all got your match pairings, if the gentlemen will come over here to receive your first courtship date baskets, you and your partner may go and find a place in the garden to sit down and get to know each other better. Try to be back here in an hour and a half.
Will approaches June with a basket.
So, should we take a walk?
Sure.
I bet you know all the good places in here to hide away since you live here.
I prefer if we stay near the front. There's other people. If you don't mind, I mean, I don't want it to get too quiet, secluded out there.
No, that's fine. So, what's up with this basket, huh? I came to my brother's ceremony last year and asked what was in it, but he wouldn't tell me.
It's mostly things to eat, so we can stuff our mouths instead of dealing with awkward silence. It's the same every year.
Cool.
What's your brother's name?
Danny.
Oh, is he tall, dark curly hair?
Yeah, I tell him it looks kind of like a mop. He does not like that very much.
Is his match the redhead, real slender? She's really pretty.
Yep. So, we've got to see what's in the basket, right? Yeah. Cheese and crackers, all right. Grapes, pretzels, that's fun. Ooh, look, soft caramels. Perfect for chewing while avoiding conversation. Chess set?
Chess gives you a reason to sit in silence. You're silent while playing chess. It's not because you're bored with your partner, but because you're thinking about your next move. Very clever.
I don't know how to play.
I played a lot when I was younger. My dad and I would have a chess tournament every Sunday afternoon while my mom was cooking the roast. Loser had to wash the dishes.
That sounds fun. I wish I had fun family traditions.
You could play with me. My dad's usually too busy to play chess these days, so I'm bored every Sunday.
You teach me?
Yeah, I would. Oh, but you missed the best part of the basket, at the bottom.
Will pulls out some cards.
What are these? Questions?
Yeah, icebreakers. They're in the baskets for every courtship date, actually. They're there again in case there's a lull in the conversation.
Are they all different? That must be a lot of questions. twice a week for 12 weeks of the courtship summer and 10 questions? That's what, 240 questions?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, then we should use them, right? Not let them go to waste.
I guess. But you read first, and we'll both answer?
Okay. How many people are in your immediate family?
I've got 3. Just me, Mom, and Dad. Not that the extended family is a lot bigger, as you might have guessed, from the abundance of rose watchers at the ceremony. You?
I've got 10. 9 in the immediate family.
Wow, 7 kids?
8, actually. 1 parent.
Oh, I'm sorry. Your dad?
Yeah. Wait, did you mean the dead parent or the alive parent?
Alive parent?
Oh, no. That's my mom.
Sorry. If you could have any animal as a pet, what animal would you have?
I think having a seahorse would be fun. Especially if they were life-size and you could ride around them.
You know, their males are the ones that carry the babies.
That's unusual, for sure, but I kind of like that about them.
I think peacocks are really pretty. And I heard they make good guard animals, so I guess a peacock.
Oh, so you like pretty boys then. Male peacocks are pretty ones.
I mean, true, but they're flashier. I don't know.
Okay, next question. If you could look into a crystal ball and it could tell you the truth about one thing in your life or your future, what would it be?
I don't know if I can answer that honestly.
Yeah, it feels a little weird thinking about the future right now.
It's weird thinking about what's happening right now.
I guess it is weird that I'm out here sitting next to my future wife.
I don't like how that sounded.
What? Wife, but that's what happens when you match with someone, right? You're going to marry them. That's what always happens.
I really don't want to be thinking about this right now.
I mean, we're gonna have to get used to saying it eventually, even if it doesn't feel right. We're going to get married.
I wouldn't plan on that.
What did you say?
No, I shouldn't have said that. Forget it.
Forget it? What, are you against marriage or something?
No, I can't say.
You can't?
It's a secret. I'm really not supposed to, but I wish I could.
You want to tell me.
Well, I want to tell somebody, not necessarily you, but I can't.
But you can't. Is it something big? Something important. Does it have to do with me? Wait, actually, I was kind of joking. If the secret's about me, then you have to tell me.
Well, it's not really, kind of, it's complicated.
Wait, do you know about...
Wait, do you know?
I don't know if you know what I know.
I don't think you can know what I know. It's a family secret.
Like a rose thing? Well, you and I are going to be family now, so you might as well go ahead and...
You know what? No. The situation is insane, and I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but I can't keep acting like this is normal. I don't think I'm supposed to be in love with you.
Really?
No.
Thank God!
What do you mean, thank God?
No, I'm sorry. I meant, that's such a relief. I don't think I'm supposed to be in love with you either.
How do you know?
It's a feeling. It's complicated.
But your rose blossomed today when you met me.
When I met you. Are you sure?
That's what my dad said. Why?
I don't know. It's just that I think I might be meant to be in love with someone else. It's weird, but this morning I almost didn't come to the ceremony. Jitters. I I guess. It didn't feel right to go spend a whole day away from my mom. She hasn't been doing well lately, but when I brought her breakfast, she was so excited for me. I didn't want to let her down, so I came anyway. And then before the ceremony, I met someone. Out of nowhere, someone called out to me, and I turned around, and before I even introduced myself, I was lost in these rich green eyes, deep like a thick pine forest, with the prettiest smile I've ever seen. It was like we were already linked together, drawn to one another. The connection was instant, and, well, it was undeniable. And then, well, Tom and I started talking, and...
Tom? Oh, Tom.
But Tom was matched up with Anna, which means that both of their roses blossomed for each other.
Well, maybe not. I mean, we were matched together, and your rose didn't blossom for me, and my rose...
Wait, your rose didn't open for me either. Who was it? It's okay, you can tell me. Come on, June. I told you my big secret. I get it, I really do. And, well, I'm here to listen and to be understanding. In fact, I may be the only person who understands. I mean, I can't blame you. I've met all of them, and even I can admit that Anna was beautiful.
Anna? You think I'm in love with Anna?
Well, it would make sense, wouldn't it? If I was meant to be in love with him, and you were meant to be in love with her.
You think my parents deliberately tried to take you away from your match?
Do you see anyone else there who loves in the same way that we do? Seems to me like your family is hiding people like us.
We are not the same.
Oh, we're not? Then if there's something so wrong about that, then why don't you explain to me what's going on?
Well, I didn't mean it like that. It's just that, well, there's nothing wrong with, I almost wish I had, because then at least my rose didn't blossom for Anna. It didn't blossom at all.
I didn't know that could happen.
I don't think it's supposed to, but, I mean, then again, I've never heard of anything like you happening either. Anything unrequited.
Think he doesn't feel the same way about me?
Well, if somehow all three of your roses opened, then either he doesn't like you or he doesn't like her.
And you think he's going to choose her?
Well, I've never seen anything else happen, so... But then again, even having three roses open in the case of one match isn't anything I've ever seen before.
For the girl who's supposed to know everything about the roses, you sure do seem to be surprised at a lot of stuff.
Well, I'm beginning to think that I don't know as much about the roses as I thought I did.
It doesn't help that your dad lied, saying that my rose would blossom for you. If he lied about something as big as that, who knows what else he might have lied about?
I don't know that he lied. He's usually so open with me, and he made a point of telling me about my rose, which he didn't have to do. He's not perfect, but...
I don't know if I agree with you on that. But he may be my father-in-law later if we still have to go through with this, so...
The way you feel about Tom, you don't feel anything like that towards me.
It'd make things a lot easier if I did. I presume you don't feel that way about me.
When I look at you, I don't feel anything. I mean, I feel comfortable. Is that the same? And so how do you feel that way? Is there something I can do to feel that way?
Like what?
Well, I don't know. Eat something, solve a puzzle, lucid dream.
I don't think that's how it works.
So, do you think Tom's beautiful?
Like the North Star. No matter where he is, my eye is drawn to him. His sparkle. Almost like I know he could guide me home. Honestly, I had to stop myself from staring.
Define sparkle.
If you have to ask, you haven't felt it. Your rose didn't open, and you're not in love with me, or anybody else for that matter. Does that mean you're not going to fall in love with anybody at all?
I hadn't even thought about that. It's all been such a blur, honestly. Like, do you think that's what it means, that I'm never going to fall in love with anyone?
I mean, maybe.
I mean, that can't be true. No, I'm supposed to fall in love with someone. That's what everybody does. I'm going to grow up and get married and have a couple kids with a white picket fence, and that can't be. That's not fair. That's not what's supposed to happen. That's not fair. Why would they do that to me?
Dude, calm down. I know you want to freak out, and you deserve to, but the others are going to hear.
I'm sorry. Do you think that's true?
If it makes any difference, I think not ever loving anyone might be better than loving someone and knowing that you can't be with them. Because that feeling, it sucks.
But what if Tom feels the same way you feel? You could be together then.
But you said it's unrequited.
Well, I said someone's unrequited. I mean, if your connection was as strong as you said, then maybe you and Tom are supposed to be together.
I don't know. My match has been decided, and so is his.
Well, don't you want to talk to him? Tell him how you feel?
Tell him I love him? I wouldn't even know how. You don't just tell people that you love them. In my family, if you love someone, you just smile at them and they know. Give them a pat on the back, help them do the dishes. You don't say it. It's understood. The Thompsons have been doing it that way for generations.
Thompson? Like Sage Thompson?
That's my mother. Do you know something about her? Is it her rose? Is it dying?
No, I don't know anything.
You're lying.
I'm not supposed to say.
But you tell me if it was something good, right? Right.
Wait, Will, I don't think you should hide your feelings. Do you tell your mother that you love her? You should start. And I think you should tell Tom, too.
I can't. How would I even talk to him? He's on a date with Anna.
Well, I can handle Anna. And don't you want to know if he feels the same way? Okay, look, this morning he came into my dad's office before the ceremony asking all sorts of questions about the roses, about whether we choose who we love or if they choose for us. So, I mean, maybe he knew somehow that something like this might happen. If this has been some sort of big mix-up and Anna doesn't feel anything for Tom, then there's nothing stopping you from being together.
Yeah, I guess I would like to talk to him.
Okay. Well, you're lucky to love anyone at all. You better fight for it.
End of scene. Scene 7.
So you like studying biology? Does that mean you experiment on mice in your free time?
Well, not really. I can't get into a real scientific program until I'm older, and only if I'm lucky. So I mostly just look at the frogs in the pond and woods near my house. So far, I've counted at least 4 different types.
Anything poisonous?
I hope not. I pick them up all the time.
Do you have a favorite?
I found a big green one once, but I couldn't ever get to where I found him again. It's really easy to get lost out there.
Don't you use a compass?
I don't have one. Good compasses are expensive.
Well, if you don't have one, you can borrow mine.
He pulls a compass out of his pocket and hands it to her.
Here,
Tom, I couldn't. It's too nice.
we're family now, right? Can't have you getting lost on the way to our courtship dates. Just make sure you get back to me before the weekend. My dad will be super upset if I can't navigate when we go hiking.
Come here. Give me 1 second. What's that? A batch of lavender shortbread cookies just got out of the oven. Come on, we gotta get them while they're hot.
But I'm on my courtship date.
And aren't we supposed to be on yours? Yeah, we'll see him again. I mean, but I may not get another opportunity to have one of Nana's warm cookies. They're just soft and buttery and light, perfect with lemonade. Honestly, once they're cold, they're not half as good as they are warm. Come on.
I can't leave Tom and just getting to know him.
Oh, but you must have heard. It's common during the first courtship date for the girls to leave together momentarily and without explanation. It's to see how the guys react. Very strong indicator of what they'll be like when you're married. secret ritual. In fact, it's tradition. Really leaves an air of mystery in the relationship, amps up the tension. So, we should go.
Really? That's the thing?
Yeah. I mean, would the daughter of the Rose Keepers lie to you? I mean, you don't get a formal double date until 3 weeks in. How do you think all the girls become friends before that?
Okay, if that's what tradition says I have to do, how long will it be? 5 minutes?
I can make that work.
I have to do something, Tom. I'll be back in a minute.
Tom?
Oh, well, you spooked me. Are you okay?
Did you mean it? About that job?
You're worried.
Give it to my brother. Danny needs it more than me. I need him to be safe.
Well, what are you gonna do? What about you?
I don't know. I think I just got some bad news, so I've got to deal with that.
I'm so sorry.
Hey, can I ask you a personal question? Were you really going to run away this morning?
Honestly, I was thinking about it.
Why?
Just scared of the future, I guess. Just the other day, my dad was talking to me about what I feel like when he passed on Gold Star to me and how it feels for me to raise strong sons who can keep the family legacy intact. And it sounded so soon. Soon you will be raising kids. Hell, I still feel like a kid. It all feels like it's coming by too fast. So I stuffed my pockets full of cookies and was going to walk off.
What stopped you?
I don't know. I made it all the way to the edge of the garden, and then I guess I ran into you. And we started talking, and I don't know.
Do you wish you had run away?
I can't think like that right now. I just got mastered with Anna, and we've got the summer coming up.
What if I told you that your match was wrong? That you were supposed to be with someone else?
Did June give you inside information?
Do you love Anna?
I only just met her.
Do you like her? Like, really like her and nobody else?
I don't know why you're asking me that.
Have you ever met someone and the first moment you looked at them, you just knew?
Knew what?
That you wanted to be with them. Like, until you're both old and wrinkly and need help brushing your teeth.
I'm glad you're getting along with June, but
It's not June. It's someone else.
Someone else?
Yes, someone else I met today.
I should probably go find Anna.
Don't you want to know who it is?
It's not my business.
But it is.
If you don't like June, go talk to Mr. Murray.
I like you. I mean, I didn't mean for it to come out like that. I had so much plan that I wanted to say. I was trying to tell you that my rose had already blossomed when I met June, and it didn't feel like what I thought being in love with someone would feel like. But maybe I wouldn't have thought that if not for the fact that my stomach flipped when I saw you, and not in like a I'm going to throw up kind of way. In a maybe this is destiny kind of way. You know, like destiny, right? Right. When I met you, it feels silly, but I knew right then that I liked you like a lot, like in a stupid way where I wanted to plan picnics at sunset and meet your parents and stare into your eyes until we both fall asleep. And I didn't want to say anything because of Anna, but it felt like you might also feel that way. So June told me that I should tell you I'm sorry. I like you in a crazy way that I can't control, and I don't even know if it's good or right. But I don't care. I like you.
I don't know what to say.
You don't have to tell me you don't have feelings for me. You probably don't, because why would you? I can't even finish a sentence most times without and my dad's dead, and my mom, but you don't get to choose what happens to you with stuff like that. And right now, I can see you trying to choose how to let me down, and I don't need you to be gentle with me. If you don't feel any type of love towards me, just tell me. Just do it quick. Take me out of my misery.
I do have feelings for you. We've got a connection. But for me, that feeling is same type of fluttery, but it hurts too. Love, it doesn't taste right.
Do you feel that way about Anna? That connection?
I don't think so. But I don't know if that means I couldn't have that kind of feeling for her.
You won't.
You don't know that.
You don't have to hide how you feel.
I don't want to hide it.
You're scared.
Of course I'm scared. That word isn't a happy word in my house. My parents talk about love like it's some sort of old god that deserves immense reverence, and then they turn around and spew vile insults at each other at every opportunity. If what they have is love, I don't want it.
It doesn't have to be that way.
I don't know what else it would look like.
Doesn't it feel lucky that we could feel like this? That we met at the exact right moment, there at the edge of the rose garden. Do you want to know why I went there this morning? I was looking for my mother's rose, to see what condition it's in. It's dying. And you know what? The moment before I could see that, there you were. And just joking around and talking with you made me happier than I've been in a long time. You distracted me just long enough so that I could have one last afternoon without knowing about my mother. That's lucky.
Maybe. But it couldn't work, not in the end.
Says who?
Nobody totally says it.
But our roses confirmed it, they'd have to.
Regardless of how I may feel about you, we can't do this, Will. Not here.
We could leave. Run away just like you wanted. I have an aunt on the coast. We could leave tonight.
No. Are you crazy? Will, you just found out your mother is dying. You're in shock. You're not thinking straight.
I deserve to be happy. I've lost too much already. Please.
Sorry that this happened. Well, but my match isn't set.
Did you know this would happen? June told me you came in this morning and asked about the roses and whether we choose or they do.
No. I didn't know. My parents, I want to know if I ended up like them, if it was because I made the wrong choice.
And the right choice is to be with the person that you care about. Tom, if you don't love her...
I could someday. I could learn.
Your parents probably thought the same thing when they were young.
Anna and I make sense. I'm going to have to take over the business from my dad one day, and I need to be taken seriously.
And you wouldn't be taken seriously with me.
No! There's never been a case of two guys being matched before.
But that doesn't mean that there aren't people out there like us.
And even if it wasn't official, you know how people talk. I can't have my father's legacy crumble because of decisions in my personal life.
So you would rather be successful than happy.
And what about kids? We can never have kids together. And then who would take over Gold Star when I get old?
We could always adopt.
Stop this! I can't do this right now. You know what? I just want to be 16 for the rest of today. I don't want to be worrying about the distant future. I just want to go back to my courtship date and talk about frogs. Can I do that?
Tom.
You need to leave. And we'll be back soon.
End of scene. Scene 8.
These are better warm. I told you. Are they worth missing a couple minutes of your date?
You know, I did need a little break. I was so nervous out there. It's nice to hear you again.
So, how's that going with Tom?
He's really sweet. I like him a lot.
Yeah? Is Prince Charming everything you imagine?
I mean, no. But a laundry list of wishes can't compare to having a real perfect guy right in front of you. Now, Prince Charming looks like Tom to me.
Has he told you about his family?
Oh, I know about the Densmores. My dad works in the Gold Star Molasses Refinery. He goes bringing jars home.
So you must be really happy then. About the money.
Excuse me?
I mean, he's rich. And an heir to a big business, so you'll be able to kick your feet up for the rest of your life if you want to. Your dad probably could too. You wouldn't have to worry about money ever again.
I mean, that's the luck of the draw, I guess, but I'm in it for love, not for money.
Do you think you love him?
I mean, it feels a little early to say, but it's odd. I think I can feel it already. Even though we only just met, it feels like I'm missing something. Being apart from him, I should be getting back.
Wait, have some lemonade to wash it down. What do you mean when you say you can feel it?
Feeling, it's everywhere. My stomach flips, and my head is kind of fuzzy, like I'm just waking up from a dream.
And that feeling, did it make you want to kiss him? And do the stuff that your brothers talked about?
Yeah, but I'm waiting for him to make the first move. But I'm less nervous for it, more excited that I get to kiss him.
What's that feel like?
I can't really describe that.
Oh, come on, we're friends, aren't we?
We're friends, but...
Well, then you can tell me. Where do you feel the feeling?
No, I do not want to answer that. I need to get back to my date.
No, stay.
Are you trying to keep me from him or something?
What? Trying to keep you from him? No. I would never. No.
Are you kidding me? I can't believe I listened to you. I should be on my date right now, falling in love with the man of my dreams. Mrs. Burgess!
Hannah, don't. I'm sorry, it was just talking.
Stop being weird. Mrs. Burgess!
June exits and then re-enters in the garden and stumbles upon Will.
Will, what happened?
I told him. Thanks for the advice, by the way.
Did Tom say he doesn't feel the same?
Worse, he has feelings for me, but he said he can't be with me.
What?
He said that he and Anna make sense, and that he would rather preserve his reputation than be happy and in love with me. I don't know if I can take it.
Will, look at me. Take a deep breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Slow. Listen to me. We are going to get through this, okay? Because regardless of whether or not that we might have matched in the way that we wanted, we're in this together now. And we're a team, and I won't leave you. So let's stuff our mouths full of grapes and cookies and caramels and talk it through, okay? Can you handle that right now?
I can handle it.
Okay, then let's...
June!
Is that your mom?
I didn't think she'd find me this fast.
June!
If we hide here, we can...
June Gloriana Burgess!
She pulled out the full name. That means I'm really in trouble. I'll be back soon, okay? I'm coming!
There you are, June. May I have a word with you in private?
Do I get the option?
No, you don't. June, Anna told me that you're sabotaging her date.
I was just trying to talk to her.
Yes, she said you asked her some very uncomfortable questions. Did you do that?
I didn't mean for her to feel uncomfortable.
Why would you do that?
I just wanted to know what it feels like to love someone. Because my rose hasn't opened and I don't even know whether or not I messed up or if I did something wrong because I don't know what it's supposed to feel like.
Sweetheart, what would you have possibly done wrong?
I thought maybe they were mad at me, or maybe I've been cursed. Maybe I disrespected them.
Disrespected them?
Or maybe they thought I read too many books about princes, which made my standards too high, and now they're punishing me. I mean, I'm always in the garden reading, and and I should be checking on blossom statuses, so maybe they know.
Darling, the roses aren't punishing you for that. If reading is a crime, well, your Aunt Clara would have never made it past her rose ceremony. My goodness, when she was your age, she would read like some adult men drink. Well into the night with no concern for the next day's events. That's no reason for you to be cursed or punished.
I'm not so sure about that. Aunt Clara, how many years ago did her husband die?
Oh, that was 6 or 7 years ago. Why do you ask?
I never told you, but I saw her in the garden a few weeks after he passed. She was sobbing, and I expected that, but she wasn't sobbing in front of the dead roses, like widows usually do. She was sobbing in front of a live rose, one in particular. It was white, and she was pleading with it, asking it why it had to do this to her. Why did it have to make her hurt so much? And I assumed the blossom was hers, and in that moment, I wanted nothing more than to help her get rid of those awful feelings that love had caused her. So when she left, I walked up to the stalk with her blossom on it, and I wrenched the blossom from the stem. I can still feel the thorns digging into my palms, and I watched the petals fall in my hands and drift onto the ground, and I realized what I had done. I thought I had just solved the problem by getting rid of her love for my uncle, but I had committed sacrilege, so I think it's a very real possibility that I have been cursed by them to never love someone myself because I took away someone else's.
I knew that you did that.
You did?
Do you think when I bandaged your hand that day that I didn't recognize the pattern of the cuts, even though you said it was because you tripped and fell? That when we found the blossom demolished the next day, I didn't realize? I didn't say anything because I felt guilty for having told her where it was. It's supposed to be a secret, after all. I only knew because I was married to your father. So it's not your fault. If that incident is anyone's fault, it's mine, and I won't hear another word on it.
Mom.
No, darling. You can't have altered your Aunt Clara's ability to love because loving someone isn't something that can simply be turned off. Loving isn't just reserved for your spouse. It's not that simple. It's one thing. It's not one thing. It's like many, all happening at once.
You really believe that?
Of course I do. You know, I found over the years that loving your father is very similar to many other things that I love. Sometimes loving your father is a lot like eating chocolate cake, or Anna's always reliable shortbread cookie recipe. Sweet and satisfying. And sometimes it's like curling up in a blanket on a cold night, or the thrill of finding money in a jacket pocket. And sometimes it's fireworks, and sometimes it's listening to the rain, or reading a book while nestled into a comfy chair. Every once in a while, it's like seeing the first fireflies in summer and catching them in your hands. Often it feels like coming home after a long trip. And those are all things I love, but I want those things to be in my life the same way I want your father to be in my life. And the things you love may be different, but that's okay. You can think of some things or feelings that you love, can't you? Even if you never feel that precise way about someone romantically, there's no doubt in my mind that you will find someone who's just what you needed, and who you're comfortable with, and who's always there. Even if that person is you.
But what if I'm broken and my rose doesn't work at all? Like, what if it never opens?
Honey, no. You're not broken. I was debating whether I should tell you this, but while your father's been hosting the party, I looked through your grandfather's old file cabinet, historical records, stuff like that. And I found that, well, dear, my rose didn't bloom at the same time as your father's. And it makes sense. I didn't have the same sort of strong feelings that your father did when we met. I knew that. I thought he was cute, and I remember being nervous, but I was also talking to a boy my age for the very first time. I didn't start to feel the way your father felt about me until later. Yes, things were a bit uneven at the start. Of course, over time that all changed, and I have no doubt in my mind that he is the person I was meant to be with. My rose didn't bloom until a month after your father's. His father didn't even tell him, only keeping it in his private notes so that everything would seem normal. So there's still hope for you and Will if you don't feel anything for him now.
I don't think it's the same with Will. He's got strong feelings, but not for me.
Does he know who the feelings are directed towards?
I don't know if that's my secret to tell.
You don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but I promise that since this has to do with match pairings, I won't tell anyone other than your father, and I don't even have to tell him if you don't want me to.
I promise it won't be a big deal.
Promise.
Will's romantic. Might be, he has feelings for... it's a boy.
Oh! Well,
Oh, you're freaking out. I knew I shouldn't have told you.
No, I'm not. I'm not freaking out. I was just trying to process what you told me because I was not expecting that. Doesn't mean I'm placing judgment or thinking that there's something wrong with that. Just absorbing information.
So you don't think there's anything wrong with Will blossoming for a boy?
No. We're learning a lot about the blossoming process today, and I would much rather see him match the person who he cares about, no matter what that looks like for him. Though that does make our situation a little more complicated. Which boy was it? Was it Anna's match?
Tom. That's why Will and I planned to interfere with Anna's date in the first place, get her away from Tom so that he and Will could talk, and so I could find out if she felt the same way about Tom as Will does.
And?
She does. She's infatuated. How does that work?
I think that love is a lot more complicated than we give credit, especially considering some of the things that your grandfather covered up.
Have you told Dad yet about your rose being late?
How could I? Without the world of his father, he'd start to question everything that he knew about the roses.
But Grandfather might have made a lot of people unhappy by putting them with someone they weren't meant to love. Just think about Will and Tom possibly being separated because of my weird rose.
That's true. We should talk to those boys.
Is everything all right? I was just coming in to say that the party's winding down. Most of the families are heading out.
In that case, June, dear, why don't you see if you can grab those boys before they leave? Your dad and I need to have a talk.
What's going on? Is June upset about... Is Peach upset about her rose?
Yeah, but I think she felt a little better when she realized she's not the only one this happened to. In fact, well, Harlan, I really don't know how to tell you this, and you probably don't want to hear it, but when I looked into the history, I found quite a few instances of unblossomed roses occurring while your father was head of town.
Why wouldn't I want to hear that? That's good news. Mary, it means that Peach isn't some anomaly. I just don't remember my father saying anything about stuff like that.
It's because he didn't. He didn't say anything about it publicly. I don't even know if your mother knew. I know it might be difficult to hear this, Harlan, but when I dug deep into the files, I found out that your father routinely manipulated matches to hide the fact that the blossoming process wasn't perfect. He thought it made the family look less credible.
No, that can't be true.
There was an instance of an uneven number of blossoms every few years, but every unblossomed rose would still leave with a match that wasn't meant for them. You may not want to believe it, Harlan, but it's all in the records. I can show
I know
you.
you never liked my father, Mary, but this is going too far. Accusing him of forging matches. Do you realize how terrible that it would be? That's not just treasonous, Mary. It's
He did to us. You and me. We're one of the matches he forged.
Now you've taken it a step too far. First you accuse my father, then you say our love is a lie? No, I've got to get out of here before you say anything else.
Do you believe it if you read it in his handwriting?
Marion opens a journal and holds it up.
Your father made a list of what he called imperfect matches in the back of his journal, organized by year. Look, we're on it. He even wrote about it on the day your rose blossomed. Look, read it.
June 6th. Harlan's rose blossomed today. He says it's the little girl at the general store, Marion Banks. But her rose definitely hasn't blossomed. It would break his heart to know she doesn't feel the same way. But my boy is happy, and that's all that matters. For now, we'll proceed as though they're a match, and I will monitor her rose for progress. You didn't love me.
That doesn't matter now.
Are you kidding? It changes everything. What does that mean for us? I mean, Mary, our whole relationship is built on a lie.
We can't change the past or what your father did. After all these years of being happy together, if you want to doubt that I love you now, be my guest. But I do. I may not have loved you at the time I met you, but I have loved you for coming up on 20 years now, Harlan Burgess. I've lived longer loving you than I've lived without you, and I wouldn't trade a second of our being together for anything.
Not even on the honeymoon? When we went down to the coast and you got food poisoning from that crab disc?
Not even that.
All right. Maybe you do love me. But what do we do now? I've been working as hard as I can to live up to my father's legacy. Now I find out his legacy is full of dirty secrets and things swept under the rug. Do I just give up? If I openly admit that he was lying and matched a bunch of people who didn't belong together, the people will lose all faith in the blossoming process and the family's ability to determine matches. But if I continue trying to cover things up for him, then I know better than he was. And if I try and change things now without admitting that he lied, then the people will think that I'm not living up to the Burgess name by allowing mismatches to happen.
I know this is difficult, Harlan, but I think you have to come clean.
Do I? Is it that simple?
Nothing about this is simple, but it's the right thing to do. There may be people that doubt us after this, but wouldn't you feel happier knowing that you were at least being honest? If you get into the habit of lying now, who knows? A few years down the road, you might start thinking your father's methods weren't so bad. It's easier, after all, to deny imperfect matches exist. And then what? You might even start doing more reckless things, like taking bribes for high-class matches. And I know you don't have the heart to do that. Face it, Harlan. Coming clean is the only option. You know that.
Yeah, I do. I just feel sorry for all of those people who've been stuck in relationships just because they felt like they needed to. I mean, it worked out for us, but there's got to be so many miserable people out there. They're going to feel like the Burgesses cheated them out of years of their lives.
But then they can leave. Move on, completely guilt-free. We can probably even realign some of those matches from back in the day.
Oh, and what about Peach? What am I going to tell her? I was about to fall prey to the same habits my father did if she hadn't said it.
But she did, and now we've got a whole other mess to deal with. 2 roses open for John Dunsmore. That's how the mix-up with June's match happened. There's 1 rose in the mix that shouldn't be.
Do we know which one is the true match?
It's either a girl or a boy.
A boy? Then it's simple. 2 boys have never been matched before, so...
I don't think that it is that simple. I don't think any of this is as simple as we were led to believe.
But traditionally, boys have only been matched with girls.
I believe in the tradition too, but it's not perfect. Can't we admit that after the day we've had? We don't know how he's feeling, but even if the boy at the center goes the traditional route and loves the girl, we still have to leave our minds open to other possibilities, ones that haven't seemed like possibilities before. Harlan, you don't have to be him, okay? Just because it's different doesn't mean it's wrong.
If he could be as happy as we've been.
John, do you have the boys? You can bring them in, dear.
Shouldn't Anna be here?
Does that poor little girl have any idea of what's going on? That's what I thought. There's no need to worry her right now.
That's right. It's the 3 of you that have tough decisions to make. Unfortunately, Tom, a lot of that decision power falls on you. You have to decide how to move forward before the others can. As you've probably figured out, you've got 2 possible matches. It's not up to me to determine which one may be unrequited. Only you can know that. But I want you to know, before you decide, that if you feel a certain way about someone, and that relationship looks different than the match you were expecting, that is totally okay. Nothing to be embarrassed about. We all just want you to be happy. Okay?
Yes, sir. How will Anna find out about what I decide?
Oh, well, If you love Anna, it might be a good idea for you to tell her about all of this yourself, in your own time. I'd wait on it though, give her some time to get to know you better before telling her. Hearing about your choice could worry her a little. If, however, you'd like to start seeing Will instead, if you want to be with him, well, then I suppose that it might be easier for me and Mrs. Burgess to talk to her family and explain everything. But none of the fault will fall on you either way, okay?
And then what? Would she be single forever because she didn't leave the rose ceremony with a match?
Oh, no, we'd let her come back to the next rose ceremony, I think. Wouldn't we, Mary?
It may be a little more complicated since her rose already opened this year, but complicated will be much more in our wheelhouse after this year.
So, Tom, are you ready to make your decision?
Before he decides, if he said that he wanted to continue seeing Anna, where would that leave me and June? Would we have to keep dating for the courtship summer, or could we still hang out without it being all gross? I still liked hanging out with you, even if it didn't mean anything.
We're a team now, though. A totally platonic team.
If you both have no interest in seeing each other romantically, you could still go on the courtship dates as friends. The activities we set up really are just fun to do. Painting, picnic by the lake, that sort of thing. You could skip the flowers or the chocolates or whatever, but you definitely wouldn't have to get married.
Now, Tom, I know this is a lot to take in, but do you have any idea of how you'd like to move forward?
It's your decision.
Can I speak to Mr. Burgess alone, please?
Sure. So, what's going on, Tom?
Could I take some time to think about the decision?
I'd like to say yes, but we're in uncharted territory here. If we need to talk to families, I'd like to do so pretty soon. It's got you all tied up.
Is it really up to me to choose?
I'm afraid so. Normally, we determine match pairings by matching the time of opening for each rosebud, but unfortunately, we don't start the formal watching process until the ceremony begins, and not all rose watchers are made equal. So, all we've got to rely on right now is your feelings. Have you got a preference for one over the other?
You mean right now?
Yes, sirree. If this is a love at first sight kind of thing.
If?
Well, while I personally experienced love at first sight, I'm beginning to learn that sometimes it isn't always at first sight that people know that sort of thing, deep down.
So if I'm not in love with someone now, I could learn to love them later.
It's possible, but I wouldn't bank on that happening if you've already got feelings for someone, which I think you might, because your rose did open today, Tom.
What's it feel like to fall in love at first sight?
When I saw her, time stood still. Her voice rang like an angel's. It was instant. I knew that at that very second I wasn't going to spend another day apart from her. I just knew. I couldn't tell you why.
It all seems so simple before.
I know. And I used to think that since everyone had a rose in the garden, that love was the only thing in my life that was guaranteed. Apparently love has no guarantees.
What if, when you met your wife, she was different from you? If you knew for a fact that loving her would make your life more difficult?
As a very wise and loving woman told me, just because it's different doesn't make it wrong.
But what if people would talk if it would have made your family look bad?
It wouldn't have changed a thing. She could have shaved her head and danced with a pigeon in the town square, and it wouldn't have made a lick of a difference to me, because I love her. And eventually, she loved me, and that's all that matters. When you find the right person you're meant to be with, it's you and them against the world. You got me? So, if you have something like that, it's worth holding on to, no matter the circumstances. You just have to be brave enough to say yes to loving them.
I don't know if I'm that brave, Mr. Burgess.
Hey, all I see is a young man who is brave enough to admit he's got complicated feelings. If you knew right now, out the gate, you were in love with Anna, and that was the end of that, we wouldn't be talking right now. Which means you've either got doubts about your feelings for Anna, or you've got feelings for Will and are scared of her. Or both. If you choose to be with Anna and don't address that doubt, it may haunt you for the rest of your life. If you choose to be with Will because you care for him, I can't guarantee that it'll be easy. Sometimes people are hesitant to understand our differences and accept anything that looks new. At the end of the day, I can't choose for you. But whatever you do choose, Mrs. Burgess and I will support you and make any necessary arrangements to make sure that everybody understands what's going on. All right?
Yes, sir.
Right now, have you got a pick in mind?
I think so.
Would you like to tell me?
You said it's worth it, right? Being with the person you care about?
Every minute of it.
No matter the risk.
No matter the risk.
I think I'm going to choose Will, Mrs. Burgess.
Are you sure? You don't sound confident.
It's not that I don't like Anna, sir. She and I get along fine. It's just
getting along isn't always enough. Not when you know. All right, we should let them know.
Mr. Burgess.
Yes?
So you're going to tell Anna's parents that I'm not pastor her anymore?
Yes, I will.
Can I go with you? Could I tell her I want her to understand everything? That I still like her and that it's not her fault that things turned out this way. I really hope that she and I can still be friends.
I think that'd be a very brave thing to do, Tom. I'll probably head over to their house after dinner if you want to stick around.
I love that very much, sir. Sir!
Yes, Tom.
Could you also tell my parents for me? Explain it to them?
Of course. Marion, you can bring the kids back in now. Tom and I spoke, and he decided that he would like to switch his match pairing to Will. Congratulations, son.
What? You chose me?
Yeah.
I didn't think you were gonna... Oh, you chose me.
Yeah. I did.
What about Anna? I thought you said she made sense.
I don't even know if I like her like that. How could I choose her when I already know that I like you?
Come here.
I never thought I'd be happy to leave my rose ceremony without a match.
Well, June, we're still friends, right?
I can't get rid of you that easy, Thompson. Are you still gonna play chess with me on Sundays, now that we're not match pair anymore?
That depends. Do I get to try Miss Burgess's famous Sunday roast?
I think we'll have enough for 4, won't we, Mr. Burgess?
Oh, I think so. Maybe even enough for 5.
So you'll come over?
Of course I will.
Well, it's been a very busy day. Why don't we get you two boys something to eat so that we can deliver you back to your families before nightfall?
Mom, I brought you your compass since I'm not going to see you before the weekend.
Hey. We need to talk.
Tom, do you need any help with... Hey, do you want us to keep dinner warm for you?
Yes, sir. You can.
You come into dinner, Peach?
I will in a little bit. I just want to be with the roses for a little while.
All right, but don't take too long. You've gone through a lot today. I love you.
Love you too, Dad.
June stands in silence for a moment, and then begins looking around for a rose until she finds the right plot.
Plot 6. My rose. Okay, buddy, I've got some things to say to you, and you probably know all of this already, but I'm starting to realize that I don't love in the same way that others do. Not like Tom and Will, and definitely not like Anna. I don't feel or crave the things that they do, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Is there something wrong with that? I mean, is this what growing up is supposed to be like? Wondering if you're normal, struggling to figure it out? Why don't parents warn us about stuff like that? They warn us about some big things, sure, but something so fundamental as loving someone, how to do it, how it feels like, how could they forget to mention that? Have they already forgotten what it's like not to know? And what does normal even matter, anyways? Matching Tom and Anna would have been the normal choice, but it also would have been the wrong one. So who cares what's normal? Loving someone doesn't always mean having the cookie-cutter perfect relationship like I thought it did. I mean, it's always felt like Mom and Dad had something like that, something special. But will I ever feel that way about someone? Look at them and be overpowered by their sparkle? I really hope so. I really hope that someday I can look at someone and it makes me feel the same way as finding a four-leaf clover, stunned and lucky. But if I don't, I want my life to be full of love. That can't be too difficult, right? I mean, I love cookies and good books, sunsets. And I have two parents that love me and at least one friend, maybe several, who care about me. I have hobbies that make me feel happy and fulfilled, and I live in a beautiful garden full of life and bright colors. Maybe I'm pretty lucky already. No rabbit's foot or horseshoe required. Yeah, so, rose of mine, if you don't blossom next year, I think I'll be okay. Got that? Good.
End of play.
My name is Emily Enlow. I am a senior theater arts major and president of Order of Furman Theatre and the co-producer of the New Works Festival. And we're going to transition now into the talkback portion of our evening. So I would like to invite Virginia and Loni up here, our student creators, for the two pieces that you just saw. So if you look over to your left on the screen here, you'll see our dramaturg for the New Works Festival, Quinn, Xavier, Hernandez. I'm going to give you a little introduction of them. Quinn, Xavier, Hernandez is a theater maker currently residing in Atlanta, Georgia. They received their BA in Performing Arts with a focus in theater, with a minor in dramatic writing from Covington University in May of 2018. They currently serve as Working Title Playwrights Assistant Managing Director. Quinn is also a founding member of The Cultivators, an Atlanta-based New Works development organization empowering its member playwrights to create original and impactful works of theater and film. Quinn workshopped their play Death Before Decaf here at Furman with Furman's new Play Development Lab May-X program in May of 2021, and we're excited to welcome them back as the dramaturg for the New Works Festival.
Hi everyone, so good to see you all virtually. Like Emily said, my name is Quinn Hernandez. I was the dramaturg for this evening, and I'm going to be doing a pretty quick 20-minute talk back, 10 minutes for each piece. Before I get into it, just some rules of engagement for the evening. Number one, raise your hand to speak, and we will get that way we can put everyone in order. Number two, if you hear something that you agree with, please snap or do something to make it known that you agree with the statement that was just being said. This way we can preserve time so that we're not repeating the same things over and over again. Number three, we're going to want to make sure that we are not trying to rewrite the play. We're not trying to these playwrights are the harbingers of their plays, and that they get to decide ultimately what happens. So we don't want to rewrite anything for them. Number four, we want to be constructive and courteous, so we're making sure that our feedback is positioned in such a way that it can be heard. Number 5, we want to make sure that we're being careful to mind the potential gap between intention and impact. So something that we say might not be construed the way that we're intending it. So let's just be mindful of that as we go forward. All right. So first, we will do move in time. And my first kind of question to pose to you all is, what things resonated with you? What drew you in? What's made a spark for you for the piece?
And you guys can raise your hands or popcorn, whatever you feel more comfortable with. Seth, in the back.
Yeah.
Something that resonated with me was the joy with everybody dancing.
Something that really resonated with me was the amount of joy you guys conveyed through your dancing. It wasn't very like strict, like movements and stuff like that. Like there was a lot of more flowy, and it made the piece feel more joyful.
The contrast when everyone was on stage versus the solitude when it was Loni. When the 3 dancers were singing at the end of the Rose song.
Whenever there were stomps or like direct, like hard impact with the floor.
I was really drawn to how we use commonly known dances like the electric slide and sort of X dances to like convey a whole different thing and like bring your group together.
Does anybody else have anything when surveying the room?
All right, if there aren't any more for that question, so the next big question is, what questions do you have about the development, about things that you saw, things that came up for you? Is it? Wait. Is it?
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, it's behind. Okay. Sorry, I had the the live stream going up at the same time. If there is like, I guess thinking about this, there's no. Sorry, my computer is freaking out on me a little bit. I guess just thinking about this, like, what questions do you have for Loni, for her to consider as she keeps moving forward with this piece?
Yeah, it is. One of my questions is, what was the motivation for the creation of this piece? So what made you want to create it?
So last year semester, I did a like senior like synthesis project where like I did an evolution of different dance styles based off of like my years here, and then that kind of inspired me to kind of do a similar work, but instead shift the focus from that to more social issues, race, identity, and individuality. And And so I wanted to use decades to kind of explore what does that feel like, what was kind of like the role of a woman or a race during that time, and kind of like explore that to present day. And that kind of like led me to like doing the trio. What does that mean to really celebrate and identify like Blackness and brown people? And then to my individual piece where I was kind of finding my voice and vocalizing my own journey with that and throughout life.
Anybody else have any questions?
Going once.
I have a question. Thank you. That's a good question. So I really just went through a bunch of different songs over the decades, and I have my favorite like kind of artists that I really wanted to like specifically put in. So I would like just listen to songs and kind of get a feel. Some of them I liked, but I didn't feel like it was a song that would benefit what I was trying to do and support that. So I just kind of listened to different artists and kind of got a feel for pieces, and then I started moving, and I was like, this sticks. Something about this feels right. And so I just stuck with that, and it kind of just led me to the next thing. I think the music really did have a real impact on this entire experience as I created the composition. Yeah.
In the process of making this, when did you decide on the phrase? Like, was it a catalyst for your idea, or did it come later?
Really good question. As I honestly originally was not going to do any kind of phrase. And then as I was working, it's something about this piece, because I did this piece, the same song last year as well, but I did it a completely different way. I did it outside. And so it was a different experience. But what stuck with me was like going through COVID and the pandemic, like what does it mean to like keep moving forward and like understanding that like this is a period of life where it's not going to be the same state forever, and just understanding that this will pass and like we will get through this. It's a hard time, it's adversity, but I will like have better days and a light at the end. So just kind of like that kind of thing stuck with me, and I felt that impulse as I worked toward the end of this process. And I was like, you know what? I think it would be really effective to actually bring that back. And that feeling, and really just kind of like say that with words, so that people kind of can understand and get that feeling of like hope and like longing for better days.
All right. That is all of the time that we have for the talkback for within time. So I'm now going to transition us over to Peach Blossoms. We'll start with the same first question. What sparked, what drew you in, what resonated for you?
I felt like the ending for June was like really relatable, because like, I don't know, it's like kind of a similar experience where like, I don't know, I felt like in my life I've been kind of forced into like this one like narrative for like how I'm supposed to like live, but kind of like learning like, oh, it's okay to be different, like it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
There's emphasis on the contrast between the idealistic timeline and normalcy versus the realistic complexity that is involved in love and life.
Yes, I didn't quite hear what the person
different representations of love and that one was not inherently better or more worthy than another.
It really resonated with me that there's a big struggle on how to like quantify, like qualify feelings.
Lavender shortbread.
They're delicious.
Yeah, I'm a very good baker, I'm sorry.
I think the play was extremely relevant, was well paced, was well done by those reading, and I would really like to see it done as a play.
You heard that, Megan? I really love the different representations of types of love. Like, you don't have to love in a certain way. Certain people show their love in different ways. So I like that a lot.
And also the message that even if you're not like most people, it doesn't mean that you're broken.
I think it was really
I really appreciate how big the feelings can be in this play, and they're allowed to be messy.
I really enjoyed how you had Mr. and Mrs. Burgess like not like immediately on board, but totally on board with how all the different kids like love and put equal importance on like June and Will's relationship and like Tom and Will's and then Tom and Anna's, how each of them had equal weight. I think was really, really nice.
All right, how about we transition over to our next question, which is what questions do we have for Virginia? Virginia, you do not have to answer any of these if you do not want to, but they can be helpful to you as you continue writing.
I would really like to know what sparked the idea for the roses specifically.
Oh God, I couldn't tell you. The thing is when I write is most times a weird thing will just hit me in the face as an idea and then I won't do it for 6 months. And so, and this is no different. I had the idea at least 6 months to a year before I even attempted to write it, and it was originally going to be a short story, and that was a year before I even got onto the process of doing this. So it's been a long time coming, but I realized recently I've been using roses to describe complications in normative relationships for a long time in like visual arts as well. Like I did like a painting of like a dude who had a head that was a rose running with like a rose stem that had a man's head on it. Funky things. You know, it's the love flower. You give roses to your girlfriend. Like that's what you do. And I think that was probably a lot of what had to do with it.
Anyone else? Any questions?
We got one. We got one.
In the writing process, did you come up with the storyline first, or like the characters first, or was it kind of?
It was a mix. Conceptually, it was originally just going to be centered around June because the story started out fundamentally as a love letter to myself, trying to think of a future where I didn't have a partner in it as an ace person. So even though I wasn't comfortable with thinking about that as a reality at the time, it was sort of an idea of a fantasy escapism where everything was still all right, where you didn't have a partner involved. And that was a long time ago, so very different now. But that was sort of where it emerged from. And then it might have been it might have been an accident where, Mabel, do you remember you were in our first reading when we were like, on your questions, I was like, oh, I might have Tom and Will be matched up together. And then I was like, oh, hold on. Because I mostly just wanted there to be two sets of teams for June to like bounce off of. But then it sort of became more of a group protagonist moment as Will and Tom took center stage for a good section of it.
Is there any specific or more nuanced reason why Peach is used as a nickname only by her father?
Oh, no specific reason for why it's the father specifically, but the reason that she's called Peach is because her parents met in June, and June is Peach season. So as they would have been walking around the garden in love for the first time, or walking around other places as well, seeing peach trees in blossom, planning their future together, it probably would have stuck.
All right, we have time for one more question.
Doesn't have to be anything fancy.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, it is.
What do you want to be the biggest takeaway from Peach Blossoms? That's a fancy question, I'm sorry.
That's a complicated question. There's so many takeaways. How could you pick just one? Like, because it's about self-acceptance for who you are, even if that thing is different. It's about learning to love the way that you are, even if it's fundamentally what you didn't expect it to be. It's about expectations for relationships and how they're so incredibly wrong, and how tradition is a cage for that type of thing, because it just like sets you into one way of thinking about love and relationships, which is so not the whole thing. So I cannot pick one, Dennis.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for staying to participate in this talkback. It's going to be super, super useful to both of our artists here as they continue to develop these pieces here at Furman and beyond. Thank you so much, and I will pass it back to Emily.
Yeah, thank you everybody so much for coming tonight. I know I saw a bunch of you filling out your little blue cards, so if you want to leave them at the box office with Anna on your way out, we would really appreciate it. So our playwrights have some concrete written down feedback, but other than that, have a safe drive home. Thank you.